Hey everyone, welcome to the Bandit Flight Simmer channel, and today we're back in the Diamond DA62 and we're on the next leg of our series on our trip around the world. We're in Kefallinia, Greece, just one of the western islands off the coast of the mainland, and we are going to be heading westbound to finish up today in Sochi in the USSR. And we're going to be flying over Athens and seeing some of the scenery in Athens and over Istanbul along the way. It's a long trip today, but we got to make up some distance. So weather should be good. It should be VFR, just some broken cloud like you see here, but we should have good visibility all the way across. We might have to stay clear of the cloud and detour around some mountains, but should be pretty straightforward today for weather-wise. If you want to make your trips a little more realistic and you want to check up on how to fly in various countries around the world, the AOPA website has a great resource where you can basically go and check up all the procedures for flying in different countries. So you can go look up, in this case, flying in Greece, useful information, and then they have all kinds of useful information. How to enter and exit the country, customs, frequencies for VFR, altitudes for VFR, squawk codes. All that information is presented here in a useful one-stop shopping format for seeing how to fly in these various countries. Now, most countries follow the ICAO rules, but every country has a little bit different procedures for local operations depending on where you are, so it's always good just to reference that because you definitely don't have time to go and get into all the aviation documents associated with flying in a local country. So anyway, that just makes your trip a little bit more realistic. Today they're using altitudes similar to ICAO, so going eastbound we are going to fly at odd altitudes plus 500, and so we're going to go probably as high as 7,500 to clear some mountains today if the weather is okay. And VFR squawk codes here are 7,000, so we'll put that in. And then they have a Athens information radio that you can monitor, and I know we're not going to have any information on it, but it's a basically like a VFR Unicom that you can get weather information. They don't have radar control, but they do provide you information as you're flying along, and pretty much the entire country of Greece has coverage for that. So we'll put that in as a frequency for flying today. And so let's hop in the cockpit and get started up and get on our way. Okay, we'll go through the full startup procedure today and get up on our way here. So we'll start off, we'll turn on our fuel. And then we'll get our battery on. And we'll put our position light on for the start. And again, I'm using the GTX750 Mod for the navigation display here. So I really like that mod so far. Cancel this master caution. We'll get our masters on, put our alternators on so they're ready to go. Cancel that. Prime the fuel pumps. And we'll start. So clear to the right and clear to the left. And starting the right engine. Good start there. Start the left engine. And a good start there. We'll get our Avionics master on. And we'll come over here, and I already put it in the route today, so that way save a little bit of time here. And basically zoom out, and you can see our route here goes up to Athens and Istanbul, and then we cross over to Sochi there. So we'll see a few sites along the way today, and should be a pretty good trip. It's a long trip today though, so it's really tight on gas, so we better get up and get going here. So We'll zoom back in. We'll initially go to 7,500 feet if we can. If we can't, then we'll have to kind of deviate to follow this path here over the water, just because we need to get up to about 7,500 feet to clear these mountains. But it's not a big deal. It's not too much off track if we have to go down this way. So, okay, so let's set our takeoff flap, get our taxi light on, and we'll head out. We can do an intersection takeoff from this runway here because it's more than long enough for the Diamond to take off midway. So we'll get our parking brake released. A little bit of power. I think we're going uphill here. Okay, so I'll set 7,500 feet for our initial altitude. Okay, so we're just short of the runway. I'll get our landing light on, strobe lights on, taxi light off, put our boost pumps on for takeoff, put our CDI, GPS navigation. We'll make a broadcast for Kefallinia traffic. It's Charlie Bravo November Delta Tango. We'll be departing southbound, left turn out. And we'll get lined up on the runway. And we'll check our flaps, our takeoff, boost pumps on, landing light is on. And set our altimeter. And off we go. And airspeed's good. 80 knots. We'll rotate. Positive rate. Gears up. Get our pitot heat on. And 100 knots. Put the flaps up. And we'll start our left turn out to intercept our track. So gear is up, flaps are up. We'll shut our boost pumps off. Bring our power back to 95% to get out of the yellow. We're climb power, and we'll just continue the climb. Intercept our track, and we'll get up as high as we can with these clouds. We'll see what we can level off at. Check out the beautiful scenery of the Greek islands here. Mediterranean Sea. It's very nice. Okay, I'll check in with you as we level off, and then we'll see what altitude we end up making it to. Okay, we made it up to 7,500 feet. We're cruising directly eastbound almost here. And yeah, the weather was pretty accurate. It said on the weather there it was 7,000 foot clouds, so we're 7,500, just below it. So yeah, it's pretty close to what they were advertising. We got a little bit of a tailwind here, which is going to help our cause today with the length of this trip. And temperatures and pressures are all looking good. You see on our initial track here, this is the mountainous area. we're going to try to go over, so you can see that off in the distance there. Otherwise we would have had to just try to stay over water here, which is not a big deal, but we got a long trip today, so we'd like to stay on track as much as possible. For those of you that have seen the flights where I've been using this GTN750 Mod, there's a few more features I've learned about it. Going to demonstrate some of those here while we're just cruising along. And yeah, I really like this touchscreen interface here. It's really nice to be able to use it like a touchscreen, and entering data is so much easier. It's a great little system. So here we are, we're cruising along, we're VFR, and we're just on a VFR leg here. Change of frequencies, I put in that Athens info frequency, just have it there as a backup. And yeah, so if we want to see, we got these 4 boxes in the corners here, and I just recently discovered that you can edit those and put whatever you want in the various boxes. So all you gotta do is go to menu, and you go to change fields, and then you click on a field, for example, and then you can choose any of these options for what you want to display in the various corners there. So that really makes your system more tailored to what you like to see, which is great there. So, and oh, I did forget to put my transponder on altitude reporting, squawking 7,000 for local, so we'll put that on. So yeah, so that's a really nice feature there. And so I've got the distance to the next waypoint, ground speed, the estimated time to the next waypoint. And this one here, top of descent, I'm going to explain that now, what I put that in there for. So, just quickly have a look around again, make sure it's looking pretty good. Nice beautiful day here off the coast of Greece. Okay, so the top of descent, so that was one, I think I showed that in the last video. It was one of the utilities. It's basically the only utility they have working right now, and it's the VNAV utility. And so what I can do here is I can set up a VNAV profile descent for what I want to calculate my descent here. So for example, we're coming up to Athens, and I want to get back down to 1,500 feet before we get there, so we can be a little lower and see some of the scenery. So I am going to choose my target waypoint, and that's the VOR in Athens there, so I'll make that my target waypoint. I want to be down, say, about 5 miles before that, so we'll enter that. So 5 miles before that VOR. I want to do 500 feet per minute altitude, and my target is 1,500. MSL, 500 foot per minute descent, and you can change that if you want to make it 1,000 or whatever. And put your offset 5 miles before that point, and then that's all set up. And now when I go back to the map, you'll see I got, I'm estimating that waypoint, the VOR, in 37 minutes, but it's telling me to start my descent at 24 minutes to make that 1,500 foot altitude at 5 miles before the fix there, or before the Alpha Tango Victor VOR. So that's a really nice feature to have when you're, especially when you're doing IFR and you want to plan your descent and stuff like that. So this plane doesn't have VNAV per se to fly a VNAV profile, but you can calculate a VNAV descent, and it's very accurate. If I set 500, we should be within a mile of that pretty much, as long as we keep our ground speed roughly the same. So that's a really nice feature. Here's another feature that's handy too. Obviously I looked on a map to see what kind of altitude I needed to fly to maintain VFR and stay clear of these mountains here, but the terrain option is a nice feature as well. So if you see terrain here, and based on our current altitude, we can actually, you can't move this map, but you can zoom in and zoom out, and you can see all along your track what terrain is going to be within 1,500 feet of your track. So anything that's green is in the 1,500 to 1,000 foot. Anything that's yellow is a 1,500, and anything that's red is within 500 feet of your aircraft. So you can see right up here, we're going to skirt right by this peak here, and we'll see that as we get a little bit closer, and that's about 40 miles away right now. So that's a nice feature to have, just to verify your altitude as you're cruising along here and make sure that you don't have any terrain issues. So that might be this peak right over here. So we'll take a look at that as we get a little closer. Okay, well that's it for now. So I'll check in with you as we we'll fly by that peak there, see how close we get to it, and then we'll check in with you as we get closer to Athens. Okay, we're just coming up to that high point of terrain here, and you can see it right off to our right hand side here, and you can see it on the display. It's just about 3 miles to the right there, and yeah, it's definitely higher than us, or at least our height anyway, and shows up here pretty accurately. So this makes it's a great tool for just double checking your safe terrain elevation. So once we get past here, should be smooth sailing if we stay at this altitude. It is a little bit bumpy with the winds. We got about a 28 knot tailwind here, and that's coming over to these tops of these mountains, makes it a little bit bumpy, but yeah, we'll ride it out. Anyway, go back to the map here, and we got almost 10 minutes to go till our top of descent, so I'll check in with you there. We'll set that up and see how that works out for coming into Athens. So I'll see you at the top of descent. Okay, we're just coming up to the top of descent point. I had to recalculate it because I got busy doing something else there, and so I set it up for 1 mile back for 1,500 foot per minute descent, just to show you how it works here. So just see Athens coming up in the distance there, and so let's go back to the main page here. So what I'll do is I'll put 1,500 foot in my altitude selector. And I'll put it in vertical speed, and we will get ready to set 1,500 foot per minute descent. I'll have to bring off a lot of power to keep my speed at around 158 there. Okay, so we're just coming up to the top descent, so I'll put on the rated descent. I'll set 1,500 foot per minute descent, bring the power back pretty much to idle, looks like, and looks pretty good. So we got 1,500 foot per minute descent, and we'll see, we should be down before we get to this waypoint here, and then we'll go see if we can find the Parthenon. It's looking pretty good. We've got 2,000 feet to go. Got distance right now is 5 miles. Yeah, so I think we're definitely going to be at the 1,500 feet before we get there. So definitely a great tool for figuring out your top of descent. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just head up towards the Parthenon there. So I'll put it in heading mode. Over the city of Athens. That's the Acropolis of Greece. Amphitheater there. Really cool. Okay, I think we'll head on up and pick up our next leg of our track there. Don't want to waste too much time here because we're pretty tight on gas. So I'll catch up with you as we level off on our next leg of our trip to Istanbul. See you in a few minutes. Okay, we're back up at our cruise altitude at 7,500 feet. Cruise power set, turn line light off. And we just departed Athens, is behind us there. And we got about just under an hour and a half to Istanbul. Put it on top of descent for that as well. And we'll get a more accurate time when we get within an hour of it. Looks good. We got a little bit of a tailwind, and fuel's good. We'll start to transfer our fuel pretty soon here, so we're getting close to that point. And yeah, everything looks good, so I'll check in with you as we come into Istanbul. Weather is really clearing up nicely. We've got beautiful late afternoon here over the Mediterranean. Okay, I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, here we are, just about 23 minutes back from Istanbul. Programmed in the top of descent, so 9 minutes back from that to do a 500 foot per minute rate of descent on the way in. So I'm going to go over a couple more features of the GTN750 suite here, and cruising along here nicely. Still beautiful weather. Still getting a little bit of a tailwind, so it's all good. Okay, so we're in the map mode here. I'll go back to the main map page. We're in the pan mode. And so let's say we're cruising along and we want to find out the weather for, say, this airport right here. Well, we can just click on that. And we're in pan mode now, and then we have waypoint info. If we want, we can go direct to that, but let's just go to the waypoint info. That tells us what the airport is, the elevation. We can view the runways. So it's got runway 0422 and another one there. If we need it, it's 9,800 feet, so yeah, it's a nice big runway. Let's get some weather. The weather is 150 at 6, Cav OK, 20 degrees, and QNH is 1010, so okay, perfect weather. So this is a great tool to be able to look for information along your routes that you are interested in. So like maybe I have to divert to an airport, I want to see what the conditions are there, what the runway is, what the weather is, loads of information. Basically click on, so let's look at, this is the airport in Istanbul. So this is Istanbul, Turkey, and we can look up chart information, but let's look at the weather there. So the weather there is 2502, Cav OK, 20 degrees, yeah, beautiful there as well. So we can look up procedures available, runways, all the preview information that we talked about before is readily available, so it's a great tool. A couple other things I'm going to just go over here too, and go back to that mode here, and I'll go over these two buttons here, the CDI and the OBS feature. And so basically, as far as I can tell, and I'll preview again, I'm not an expert in this system. I've never used it before in real life, so this is just stuff I've picked up through trial and error. So if we look at the CDI button, all it does is change your, so I'm going to put it in heading mode for now so we don't mess up. So I'll center my heading, put it in heading mode. I just want to keep on this track. So if I select CDI, you'll see it changes my CDI to VUR1 over here. When I hit it again, it goes back to GPS nav. Now, so it does the same as this, except it only cycles through nav1 and the GPS, whereas this CDI function cycles through VOR1, VOR2, and the GPS. So So it's very similar. It does the same thing, and that's, as far as I can tell, that's all it does there. And if we go to, say, we're going to IST is the VOR we're tracking to right now, and if we want to say, let's actually want to put that in as a VOR, so let's go to waypoint info VOR, and it's automatically put IST in there for maybe because it's the next VOR we're tracking to. So there's all the information about the VOR. Now say I actually want to tune it, so I can actually select the frequency there, it goes into the standby. I can now move it up into the active, and now go back to our map here, and if we go over to OBS, or sorry, CDI, it should show. So yeah, there I had the needle for nav1 already set up, so it shows IST. There we go. We can center our course bar, and now we can actually use the VOR to track inbound if we wanted to. So we could just use that function to track ourselves into Istanbul. And say we had a GPS failure, well then we'd have to rely on traditional nav aids, and so there we go. So we have that information. We'll go back to GPS here. So that's a nice way to get set up your any VORs that you need en route if you want as a backup. Okay, next we'll talk about the OBS feature here. So the OBS feature works like it would a traditional nav aid. So you set your CDI to VOR, and then now it will just be able to set your course and change your inbound radial, so you can change the inbound track on your course, and then it would show an offset radial, and then you can intercept that radial and fly it in. Well, you can do the same thing here in the nav, GPS nav. So if you go OBS, and as soon as I go OBS, you see it changes my track inbound to the IST, but I can alter with, instead of OBS track here, with the selector down here, and you can see a change up here. And so what you would do with this feature, and I actually used it the other day, they asked me to track inbound on radial to a fix. So instead of actually having to, I was already tracking inbound to that fix, and instead of having to dial up the VOR and tune it and identify it and then set the OBS, all I had to do was select OBS on here, and they wanted me to track inbound on the 030. So I put 030, and that's the inbound track, and then I just alter my heading, and then I'll turn to the right, and I'll fly an intercept to intercept that track inbound. So that's what the OBS function does. It almost creates a similar feature in the GPS mode as you would have in a VOR mode. So you're treating this almost like a VOR. And you can see our course shows off to the right there, so we got to go 15 miles to the right to pick up this inbound track. And then once we do pick it up, we'll just track it inbound with our CDI here in GPS mode. So it's a very interesting feature. I thought it was pretty useful and interesting to use. So anyway, if we get out of that mode now, so we'll select OBS, and you see we're back on our track. A little bit off here because I've been flying in heading mode, so I'll just go back to nav, and we'll pick up our track inbound. So that's that feature. We're going to start our descent here momentarily. So we'll get that going. So I'm going to set 1,500 feet was the altitude I wanted to be at. And I'll select vertical speed. And we're past our top of descent point, so I will just go 500 feet per minute down. And I'll bring the power back a little bit just to keep my speed around the 158, 160. and we'll see how it goes. So we should be, I think I had it set up for 5 miles back from the VOR to hit that waypoint, so we'll see how it goes. So I'll just confirm we're GPS, autopilot's engaged, vertical speed, tracking the GPS inbound, so it looks pretty good. So I'll check in with you as we approach Istanbul. So those were some pretty cool features, other features that I was able to pick up on this GTN750 package. And, yeah, the more I use it, the more I like it. So I'll see you again in a few minutes as we approach Istanbul. Okay, while we're continuing our descent into Istanbul here, I'm going to get our fuel transfer going. So you see our fuel is down to about 6 gallons a side, but we still have the aux fuel, and you see in the fuel system here we have 18 gallons of aux fuel on either side. Or if you go to the fuel system here, we have 6 and 6 in the main tanks, 18 and 18. So we still got an endurance of 3 hours and 35 minutes. So anyway, good to get that fuel going now. So I just go down here to my boost pumps, turn them on, go to the advisory, just acknowledge that we got left aux pump on and right aux pump on. And we should see these fuel levels increase over the next 20 minutes or so, and then we'll just shut those tanks off. So that's that. So fuel is looking good, and we'll see the sights of Istanbul as we level off here at 1,500 feet, approaching the city. See you in a few minutes. Okay, so we're just coming up on Istanbul International Airport here, and we leveled off about 7 miles back from the VOR. I programmed in 5, so it's pretty close. Let the speed build up a little bit there as we were descending, and yeah, so we'll just fly along the coast of Istanbul. I don't know much about the city, so we'll just enjoy some of the scenery as we fly by, and look at any highlights. We'll pop outside and have a look. There's a couple of points of interest just up along the coast here, so we'll have a look at those from the outside, I guess, as we fly by the city. Of the city. We'll pop outside and have an outside view here too in a couple minutes. Okay, we're back at altitude, cruising into Sochi here, a little bit out of Istanbul, and just want to take a closer look at our fuel situation here. It's a really long leg, and we didn't have a lot of extra fuel to play around with, so if I look right now, we've got 2 hours and 24 minutes to go till we get to Sochi. Our fuel transfer is complete, and if you go to the fuel page here, you see your total fuel remaining is 39 gallons. We used 27 gallons. We have 2 hours and 38 minutes and range of 485, and it was a little tighter initially when I leveled off because we were at 85% power, and so It's closer to a long-range cruise. You go a little bit slower, so we lose about we're only losing about 8 knots of airspeed, so it takes about 10 minutes longer overall. But with that fuel burn, it brought our range up a little bit. So right now we got about 15-minute reserve, which is about as tight as you want to make it on VFR legs. So we'll monitor that. We have a little bit of a tailwind right now, and we'll keep that option. Keep a look on that, and then for options, we do have other airports that we could divert to along the way here. So we could easily divert down to one of these airports here, and take a look at a couple of them, and they're fairly big airports. So we'll see how it goes. I think we'll be okay though, but that's something you really want to keep a close eye on these long legs here like this, where you're pushing the limit on your endurance. So anyway, I'll check back in with you. Hopefully we're on final approach into Sochi next time I talk to you. Okay, we're about an hour and a half back from Sochi. I'm keeping the speed back at 150 with 75% power, and right now got about extra 17 minutes worth of fuel, so looking good for VFR leg into Sochi. So I'm going to do the setup for coming into Sochi now. I'm going to just put in an instrument approach as a backup since we're coming in at night. You know, we are over water all the way in, and the airport's right on the coast, but it's always nice to have an instrument approach in as a backup. So first, let's look at the weather in Sochi. So we go down to the airport and look at Sochi URSS, get the weather data. And winds are 040 at 1, so light winds, good visibility, 11 degrees. QNH is 1015, no significant weather. So clear sky, so it looks pretty good. Now if we go back to the runways here, they have 2406 and 22. We're coming in on a track of about 060, so might as well make a straight in 406 since the winds are calm and they're slightly favoring that. So I go back, I looked at the charts, and there's an RNAV for runway 6 into Sochi, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to load that up as a backup approach, and this is the final approach portion. They do have different transitions, and so I'm just going to select the final approach and then go direct to SS062 and for 2,000 feet. And so let's go to the procedures approach, and that's the RNAV 6, and I have to choose a transition. That's the default one, so I don't want these waypoints, but we'll go direct to SS062 once we have the approach loaded. So I'm going to put it in heading mode, because sometimes when you activate the approach, it cycles through a different waypoint. So I'll center my heading, put it on heading mode, and we'll load and activate the approach. And yeah, so we're direct to Gokin right now, so that's okay. So I'll put it back in nav. Yeah, that looks good. And then what I'm going to do is just look on the map here and just see how that looks. So yeah, that's the way it was depicted there, so that's fine. But we can go to direct to SS062. So if I go direct to, go to the flight plan and I select SS062 and I go activate direct. And now it looks like that's what we're doing. So that's perfect. So now we've got that loaded in. We want to be, if we go back to the chart, we want to be at 2,000 feet at that fix to start the approach. So if I go back to my utilities, VNAV, put 2,000 feet. MSL. We'll do a 500 foot per minute rate descent. I want to be, say, a mile back before the target waypoint will be SS062. Go back to the map. And yeah, we're still over an hour out, so but we will get the indication when to start our 500 foot per minute descent. So, fuel's looking good. We got a backup approach set in for Sochi. And we can also just look at the airport diagram here. So if we go back to charts, and we just go to info. And this is the runway, so we've got two runways there, and they're both fairly long, so not an issue. We're coming in on the main runway, 06, and then we'll just exit and park. First taxiway we can exit there, so probably Charlie or Delta, probably Delta, and probably just park right there. So pretty straightforward. I think we got all our planning done. We're coming into Sochi. The weather looks good. Fuel is looking good, so I'll check in with you again on our approach into Sochi. See you in a bit. Okay, we're just coming up on our top descent. You can see the lights of Sochi off in the distance. So I'm going to get ready to start that. So we're going to set our altitude for 2,000 feet. And I'll put it in vertical speed. And we can start down now, 500 feet per minute. Get us to our fix, hopefully, at the 2,000 feet. I put it like a few miles before, so we're looking pretty good. Fuel, we're getting kind of tight on the gas there. We just got the low fuel just flashing there, so if you look at our fuel level, we're down to 6.7 gallons, 30 minutes, 27 minutes remaining, but we have 10 minutes left to go, so that's about as tight as you want to take it, I think, and yeah, we're not going to burn too much more fuel here because I'll bring the power back. And yeah, should be no problem getting into Sochi with the nice weather there. So I'll check in with you just as we level off, and we'll do the final approach at that point. So I'll see you on the final approach in a few minutes. Okay, so we're just coming up to 2,000 feet. We're 3.5 miles back, so the vertical speed worked out pretty good, and we're hitting this fix. We're going to be about 10 miles back from Sochi. You can kind of see it in the distance there, and so yeah, we're looking pretty good for the arrival into Sochi. Once we get on track, I'm going to arm the approach, and I can go back and bring up the chart here. It shows us on the chart coming in. Arm the approach, and then from the next waypoint we'll intercept the glide path and then fly it into Sochi. Sochi, if you remember, was where they had the 2014 Winter Olympics in Russia. So that was what brought Sochi to the world map. Anyway, so I'll check in with you again on the short final just before we arm the approach, and then we'll fly the final portion of the approach. See you again in a couple minutes. Okay, so we're just coming up to the final approach fix. I'm just going to arm the approach, and you can see the glide slope is armed, and yeah, we're over the Black Sea, just coming into Sochi, which is right on the coast there. Nice big international airport. It's definitely black at night when you're coming in, for sure. No depth perception or anything. Another reason why it's always good to use an instrument approach as a backup for flying visually. Okay, so we're intercepting the glide path, although it does show off the scale here. Bring some power back. Got our landing light is on. Put our boost pumps on. And yeah, normally when you're flying the approach, if you're on the GPS glide slope, that should be down here. So I'm going to watch that pretty closely. We're 3.5 miles, 15, so yeah, that does seem about right. The sight picture looks okay, so I'm not sure why that is not accurately depicting. And we are on glide path, but we'll keep a close eye on it. Okay, I'll start slowing down now. Get the gear out. Speed is good. We'll get the first notch of flap out. Add a little bit of power. Go for about 110 knots initially. Yeah, it does look like a good sight picture, so I'm not sure why that's off, but. And if you use 300 feet per nautical mile, so we're just coming up on. That's another fix there, so it's actually not the airport, so we need to add 1.5 miles to that, so we'll see how that looks. Yeah, so 900 feet, about 3 miles, so that's not too bad. I'll get my last notch of flap out, let the speed bleed off to about 90 knots, add a little bit of power. So gear is down, 3 green, flaps are at land, landing lights on, boost pumps are on, and we are good. A little bit of power to keep the speed up. I'm going to disengage the autopilot. I'll just hand fly it in from here. Get back to my normal sight picture for landing. Down. Brakes are good. Turn off at the next turning point there. That was a nice night approach into Sochi here. There we go. We'll turn off here. Okay, we'll just come to a stop. And I'll just turn off the landing light, turn on the taxi light, strobe lights off, put our flaps up, turn off our boost pumps and pitot heat, and then we just taxi in and shut down from there. So I'll just call it a video here. I think that was a pretty good trip. It was a really long trip, and we really pushed the limit of endurance on our fuel here. And if we go over and take a look, it's about as close to empty as you want to be. Click on the fuel, and we're down to 3.5 gallons of fuel, so not a lot of extra gas. So it's about pretty as much as tight as you'd want to be. If the weather was marginal, I definitely wouldn't have pushed it that far. I think I would have turned off at one of those closer airports on the way in, but the weather was good, and we got into Sochi, no major issues. So anyway, that's it for today's trip. Hope you liked the content. We learned a few more things about the GTN750, and saw some sights in Athens and Istanbul, and yeah, it was overall a pretty good trip. Covered a lot of distance. So thanks for joining me today. If you like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and sign up for notifications to make sure you join us for our next leg of our trip. If you enjoy the content, appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up. That would be great, and we'll see you next time when we depart Istanbul. Not sure where we're going to head. Mostly be weather dependent, I think, on the next leg. So should be a good trip as well, though, as we probably head through the western part of Russia, I think, initially, and we'll see where we end up on the next leg. So again, thanks for joining me, and hope you had a good time, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bandit out.